Welcome to NUYU Voices Emerge podcast, and I'm your host, Sheriene Harris. And yeah, it's been a while. Kind of today, wanted to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about me. And I am a fourth generation New Yorker, born in Yonkers, New York, the daughter of Fred Gaines and Beverly Hazel Bryant. And my father, God bless, has gone on, and I miss him. I miss him daily. I have three older brothers, and I am 5'11", as my daughter calls it. 5'11" and flats and crazy as a bag of rats. I have three older brothers, and I am actually the shortest of my mother's children. And so that lets you know my brothers are freakishly tall, actually. And growing up, I guess you could say I I I adore my brothers. I still adore my brothers. And I grew up in the fact of being the Gaines's little sister. And so my identity, if I think about it, more or less was under them. And my brothers were very protective. They still are protective. And like I said, I still dote on my brothers. And those that grew up in the Yonkers area know about those Gaines boys. If you're chiming in or looking from the Yonkers area, you know Fred, James, and Anthony Gaines. And but yet and still, so nobody messed with me. Still to this day, nobody messes with me. And so, but with that being said, my brothers did everything for me. And with that being said, when I was a little girl, my teacher told my mother that you have to let her do things on her own because her brothers do everything for her. So you have to let her do things on her own. Because when I was in school, I always wanted somebody else to do everything for me. And so when I was growing up, I used to say, let her do it by myself. I have to do it by myself. And so I would get on the floor, I would lay my coat on the floor, and I would put one hand in the other one and put the other hand in the other. So as time came along and I got married and had kids, and my husband, became a pastor. Excuse me, first he was Deacon Kevin Harris, and he was Elder Kevin Harris, and then became Pastor Kevin Harris. And then I had kids, and so when I went places, or I was KJ's mom, or Kyra's mom, or Keyshawn's mom. And so I was, the Booster Club mom. I was this, that, and the other. So my identity became attached to somebody else. My identity was always, I was either James and Anthony and Fred's little sister. I was elder or pastor's wife, or I was somebody's mom. I was just never Sheriene. So, how many people think about that? How many people have always lived in someone else's shadow? And I never thought about that. I was actually very comfortable living in the background. I never thought about it. I am 51 years old and never thought about, I always played the background. So when it came time for me to do things where I had to be out in the front, I became completely nervous. You're talking about anxiety. Panic attack. When my husband was like, you need to do a podcast. People need to know your story. They need to hear about you. They need to know what your life has been like. And I am emerging. So that's why NUYU Voices Emerge came about, because I am stepping out of the shadow. I'm stepping out of the shadow. And to tell you this, I am freaking out some days. I'm literally freaking out. And how many of you out there are feeling that? If you're feeling that, chime in. Make comments, reach out to me, because I want you to know you're not by yourself. Your voice can be heard about that, because you're not by yourself. Some days, that's why I'm standing out here, I'm like, whew. I love my balcony because it is tranquil, it's peaceful, and some days I just sit out here, I love the birds, and you can hear them chiming a little bit. But I just want you to know, it's not easy to step out from someone else's shadow. you know, because your identity has always been attached to somebody else. You know, I felt comfortable being covered under my husband, and I still do. I still do. My husband is amazing. When I tell you he is an amazing man of God, he is amazing. He covers me. He has taken care of me. And my story, I will tell more of it. I have almost died on several occasions. And if it wasn't for him, literally taking care of me, cleaning me, I've been at death's door on more occasions than the next. I literally have had a hole in my head, brain surgery. And we'll talk about those things. We'll talk about those traumas of that and all of those things. And we'll talk about how we bounce back from that and how life can throw us literally the kitchen sink and it will drop the house on us. But how we can come back from that. How we literally can come back. How God brings us back from that. So, with that being said, I'm going to wrap all of this up. If you are emerging and figuring out your identity, let's do it together. Let's do it together where your voice can be heard. Have a good one.